I believe that like failure is just as important as growth. So, what is one failure that you feel absolutely needs to be avoided by new YouTubers slash artists?
That's a tough one.
What's up, geniuses? My name's Adrian Rivera, and welcome back to the channel where you learn to show your genius. Today, we are joined with David Michael Frank of the YouTube channel Future Sunsets to discuss growing your following as an artist slash YouTuber. So, if you don't know who David is, he's aka Future Sunsets. He's a multi-instrumentalist with over 155,000 subscribers on YouTube, and from my understanding, you've been acknowledged by MTV, Billboard, and BuzzFeed, and have toured around the world.
Yep, I have been through a whole lot, and so I'm happy to be on your channel. I'm super excited for you and your journey to 100,000 and far more subscribers. And I'm happy to just share some of what I've been through in the music industry, my thoughts and perspectives and expectations of where I think it's going to be going. And just happy to share. Hopefully this helps some other like-minded musicians, producers, YouTubers out there.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And like you mentioned, my series, The Road to 100,000 Subscribers. In this series, for the people that don't know, I document my journey from 8,000 to 100,000 subscribers, and the goal is to reach that milestone by the end of 2020. So far we've gained around 2,000 subscribers since we started, which was back in May 26th. So we're doing well. Social Blade, if you go on Social Blade, you can see the analytics and stuff like that. Plus we have our Google Analytics sheet that my brother ended up programming for me so we could track all that stuff in real time. However, if we want to hit that goal sooner, which is by the end of 2020, which is only a couple months away, so if we want to hit that sooner, we got to be more strategic about it. And that's why I wanted to have this interview with you, David, because number one, I wanted to learn more about who you were as a person, because it's very interesting to get other people's perspectives, especially the people that are, making this a living, and as well as get your insight so that I could add to my growth plan, and so I can share it with my audience and hopefully help them grow as well. So, but first, I want to say happy birthday to my buddy, Justin. Happy birthday, Justin. Hope you had a good one.
Happy birthday, Justin.
Yep. So thank you. But first of all, I wanted to ask you, what's your story and how did you start on YouTube?
Cool. All right. So I'll try to keep this so quick because it's crazy now, and YouTube has changed a lot. So that'll be play into some of the advice when we get there. But for now, I went to University of Oregon and I studied business and I studied vocal performance. And then when I graduated that, I went and I was working on a solo album. And then I was found on the internet by The Voice. And The Voice wanted me to come out to LA. At the same time, there was a YouTuber that was auditioning people to be a part of his band. And they had management and everything. So I flew out to LA. I auditioned for The Voice. And I got through on The Voice, and at the same time I auditioned for this band that was based around a YouTube drummer and a management company that had put it all together. I got both, and I had to choose, and I had a contract that was very gnarly with The Voice, and I had a contract that I hadn't seen yet that was very gnarly for the upcoming, what was soon to be known as a boy band. I ended up choosing the boy band because the management team was ridiculous. They had managed the same people as the Jackson 5, Lionel Richie, the Commodores, just some huge legendary bands and artists, Michael Jackson. And so I signed my soul away at probably your age. And it was all too good to be true. I moved out to LA. There were all these lofty promises. They were wining and dining us. We were going to nice restaurants like the Soho House, and it all seemed too good to be true. But it was sort of shady, and there was money problems, and They were lying to us, and then our management started fighting with each other. 4 managers is too much. I'm gonna try to get through this as fast as I can.
No worries. Take your time.
Boy band falls apart. There's 4 guys. Boy band falls apart, and the 3 of us decide to say, off to our management. Excuse my language on your channel.
Yeah, don't worry.
You can beat me.
Yeah,
we tried to fire our management, but our record deal was so bad that we couldn't. However, we left LA and we went and lived in Oregon, and we wrote and recorded our first album as independent artists. I produced it, and we put it out, and this was sort of the launch of my introduction to formal YouTube. Before then, I was posting covers because I was in college and I was watching these people on YouTube like Tyler Ward. All of these people are friends of mine now. Tyler Ward, Alex Goot, Tiffany Alvord, just a bunch of people that I like saw on the internet in college, and I was like, I can do that. I don't know how to do it. I've never put videos together. I can do it. And that was how The Voice found me, and that was how this boy band sort of let me audition, whatever. So I moved to LA. The boy band falls apart. I moved to Oregon with now 3 of the 4 guys. So now the boy band is 3 guys, and now we're independent, and we're doing everything ourselves. And we dove into YouTube. We started doing covers, and we started to... Our old management started to like mess with us and started to try to like take down our covers because they like still owned our names and our likenesses. Right. That's a nightmare, by the way, to get like cease and desist letters when you're trying to post a YouTube cover. Yeah. And, so annoying. So that I have all kinds of legal stuff to talk about for the young musicians in the world looking at contracts for the first time. Right. Be careful. Right. So now we're 3 guys and we're crushing it as an independent band. We level up one step at a time. You buy a van. You beg people to go on tour with, and we got to go on some big tours. We bought on to a big tour. We got to do videos with big YouTubers. I did a video with Kurt Hugo Schneider and Alex Goot and Against the Current. Eventually, we toured with Against the Current. Wrote with Tyler Ward. I had mentioned both of these guys before, but those were guys I looked up to, and they eventually became my peers. Which was really cool. And just sort of instantly we pushed really hard, and there's a whole process to how we did it, but tons of videos and content and covers and being as relevant as we can. And then 3 guys becomes 2 guys, and we eventually fell apart where the drummer screwed us over and changed the passwords to all of our social media, and it was a nightmare. So now 3 guys is 2 guys, and we have to change the name because the drummer took all the passwords. Hence, Future Sunsets. That's how we got to Future Sunsets. Now I was 2 guys. We're still crushing it. We're still making videos. We're still supporting our fan base, and they're supporting us. We launched a Patreon, and I'm going to talk to you most likely about Patreon. We launched a Patreon when 3 guys became 2 guys. And it changed our lives, and we were already making money full-time through our music, but now we are making it online, and we didn't have to travel selling $20 t-shirts, and it changed everything. And that allows us to be more sustainable as YouTube creators, which is really, really important and a part of the advice to you eventually.
Awesome.
3 guys becomes 2 guys. The other guy who actually just moved into my house, but he fell in love with a Norwegian model, and he's like, yo, I'm leaving the band. I'm going to Norway. And he flew to Norway, and I was now the Brendan Urie of the Panic at the Disco. I was now the last remaining member of Future Sunsets. I had been from 4 guys, 3 guys, 2 guys, 1 guy. And now I clearly already write and record and produce it all myself. And I always had, my bandmates to help, but I was always the one at the helm. And now Future Sunsets is sort of my Panic at the Disco. And I'm writing original music. I'm doing covers. I'm active on all kinds of different social media. And I love putting music out or putting a video out that can impact someone's life. I have my lyrics tattooed on people. I have received letters that my music has helped them through dark times and give them hope. And it's that kind of thing that gives me the desire to fight for this dream forever. And so now that's my deal. And I just did an international tour. My second one, Future Sunsets, did one with my other bandmate, but now I just did one this last year. 38 cities, I think 8 different countries, and launched an independent merch store, and just crushing it and trying to build out Future Sunsets while also building out what I do on the side. And I work with a lot of artists. I help them find their voice. I help them monetize their art. That's a big part of my advice is, you can get 100,000 subscribers, but you want to build a community, and you want to have a 2-way conversation with those people, and they'll support you and you support them. And if you can have a financially sustainable platform, just relying on YouTube money is not
right.
That's like YouTube money is not a part of my
main
business
source of
plan.
income. Yeah, right.
Yeah, not at all. And my fiance, her name is Jacqueline Glenn. The Glenn will disappear soon here, but she's got 800,000 subscribers about.
Nice.
And she's not in music, even though she's an incredible singer. And so I also have that kind of perspective that I can bring into our conversation.
Awesome.
As well today to sort of share different types of content. Because it looks like you're doing, music production. Yep. You're doing a bunch of stuff. You got your own music.
Yeah. Right. So my channel is based off of like music production. So I do tutorials in FL Studio, and I also have my own songs that I release as well, because my main goal is to be an artist, a solo artist, and YouTube is kind of like the leap pad in a sense. But I honestly love making this content and like just interacting, like you said, having a community, inspiring a lot of people. People have been inspired by what I've been able to make, which is amazing. It's an amazing feeling, Like I know for a fact you relate to that. Like you just feel like it's great to live for people, and that's kind of what I want to do. And even though my goal is to be an artist, doing these videos, helping other people out, and like this series that I'm working on, the whole reason why we're in this interview in the first place, like, to help people out, give them a smile on their face and help them get their goals faster than they would have without it. It's like, that's what I live for. So, but one thing I wanted to ask, since you were explaining all that stuff, you said that like when you were about my age, you signed your soul, but like, and all that stuff. But how old are you right now? And like, when did you start all that stuff?
I'm 31.
Dang, really?
I look
you young. Look really young. I was not expecting you to be. That's crazy.
But at the same time, like, I'm the same 19-year-old kid that like moved to LA. Well, I was older than 19 when I moved to LA. I'm the same kid that moved to LA and pursued music. And honestly, out of my peers that are my age that were a part of music, and I'm sort of one of the only ones that I can think of that is still fighting for the dream. And I honestly think with music, with art, with your own personal dreams and ambitions, like you need to be able to live and die for that dream. I've been through a lot. I've had injuries, I've had life problems, I've had career struggles and growth pains and everything. And the moral of the story is to sort of persevere through all of that. And if music is what you want to do, make it happen and work smart and be very conscious of your analytics and what people are saying. And sure, you'll get haters and you'll have to fight through that and you'll have to have thick skin. But it's going to always make you stronger and help get you towards your goal. And never forget that the impact that you can create with your music or your videos is invaluable, even if it's to one person. So like you're saying 100,000, like think about an arena. That's like 20,000. You've got to recognize that every single one of those, even those 8,000 that you're at right now, those are all real people. And if you can create an impact with one of them, it's worth it. Now you're just basically saying, I want to do this on a bigger scale. I want to reach people and like, have my message out there. And that's really, really, really cool and powerful.
Thank you. And one thing that I can tell from what you're saying is like, when you do your music and like, what you're doing right now, you're doing it not in the sense of like, you want to be famous, you want to make a lot of money. You're doing because this is something that you love and this is like a passion that you have. And the one thing that I feel like was really important is like, to be like, if you're going to do something for the rest of life, you have to have the passion to do it, like you have to love it, because over time, I'm sure, like, like you said, you've had struggles. I've had I've had like my fair share of struggles as well. And like, I know a lot of people watching this video, subscribe to my channel, subscribe to your channel. They've all had their own struggles, but like the fact that you love what you're doing so much is kind of what keeps you on that track. Right. Yeah. Right. Okay.
Yeah. And there are times when you'll feel like it's not what you want to do. And there's all kinds of different things you can do. I have different parts of my music production chain that I will outsource if I don't want to do it, or if it's like a certain type of video edit that's annoying to me or whatever. Like, find the other people who are more talented at you that'll do the work that you don't feel as passionate about, so you can focus on what you're the most passionate about.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's funny that you mentioned that because recently I made for one of the episodes on the series is like why you need an editor as a YouTuber, and like what you just brought up was the fact that you had like getting other people to do the things that you necessarily don't want to do, but they can also do it better. Like, you know, helps you grow like in general because you have more time to dedicate to the things that you want to do, which is like, I think is
it's still a fine line. Right. Though. You're absolutely right, but like. You need to have the financial resources to support that kind of stuff. So that sort of brings me back to the Patreon thing. But then also, you do need to know everything. You need to know how to do everything. Right. You need to be
a jack of all
trades.
And
that's sort of why, like, I play drums. I play guitar and bass and whatever. Like, I'm sure I produce, but like, as I lost my band members or whatever, like, I can do it all.
You had to become your band members, basically, like a one-man band.
Sure, and like there's a million better drummers out there than me, and so on songs, sometimes I will hire, if it's this right song, I'll hire a drummer, and I know great people for it, and it's nice to pay people for what they're worth and what they're good at, and definitely. Especially right now while everybody's looking for work.
Right.
And I also like mixing is one of my things that I feel the most passionate about or my music production skills at. And I now mix for big YouTubers. Peter Hollins, who's, I don't know how many subscribers Peter Hollins has for, but I mix for him and his wife. I've done music productions for Megan Nicole. I've done a lot for Tiffany Alvord. James Maslow from Big Time Rush.
Awesome.
I have a lot of like clients, friends.
Yeah. I remember watching.
I get to do.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, James is super cool.
Yeah, and it's funny that you mentioned that because, like, you know, I remember being little watching Big Time Rush on Nickelodeon. That's hilarious. That's awesome though. Dope.
Yeah, he's a super cool dude. We a funny story with him and I is like we met back when I was in my boy band days, and like he was a co-writer on one of our songs that we put out. And then now, you know, fast forward to a few years later, we're friends, and I'm doing videos with him and for him, and backing him up live at shows. And he's a good dude, and he's super talented. We've done some covers on my channel, and good dude.
Awesome. So since we're talking about, you know, because you're mentioning Patreon and all the things that, you know, help make you successful in this career, a lot of people aren't at that point yet. So I want to get your opinion. What are the most important things that you think that you did right to get to where you are now?
Well, I don't want to skip over the fact that you said not at that point yet for the Patreon. However, so we'll come right back to that.
Okay, definitely.
But what was the question? Things that I did to...
Right. So
say that again?
What do you think that you did right to get to where you are right now?
Okay.
So like the biggest things, I guess, that like helped you out.
My growth on YouTube came from steady content, but some lucky right video at the right time moments. And I think that that's such a big message about pursuing a career in the arts or whatever, is like you have to get lucky sometimes. You have to be persistent, and you have to put out tons of content and be prepared, but right place, right time, right song, whatever it might be. So I've had a few things go sort of viral. My most viral was Miley Cyrus put out Wrecking Ball, and within 24 hours, I was like naked on like a workout ball in the backyard, and we put out that video, and I think it's at like 8 million views right now, and worldwide press, Perez Hilton, Billboard, Ryan Seacrest, it's sort of like the internet was almost a smaller place back then, and like it just shattered everything. And our iTunes sales, which were a thing back then, our iTunes sales of our original music blew up. When we did our next tour, I remember going around the room and asking people like, "How did you come across the band?" And it was like
Wrecking Ball. That's awesome.
And so like, things like that. being a part of being very conscious of what's going on in the industry and responding to those trends in your own voice.
Right.
Not being scared to push the limits. So that's me getting naked, I guess, but not being scared to push the limits and try to think outside of the box. And I've had a few videos where they've gone viral. Things that back in the day, things would go on the YouTube homepage. I had, a cover of somebody I used to know on like another channel, like got on the whole YouTube homepage. And then, I did a collab with Curry Hugo Schneider and Alex Gut and all them. And that's got like 20, 30 million views. I did a video, also not on my channel, but a video for Max Schneider, who now goes by Max, and Avery, who she was one of the biggest YouTube singers back in the day, one of the first signed YouTubers. And we did an iPhone cover where we were all the iPhone band. We had an iPhone with drums and an iPhone with keyboard, and that was right around the time that like the new iPhone had came out, and I think Steve Jobs had passed away, and whatever happened with the YouTube Google SEO of people searching iPhone, they found our cover, and then that went viral. So I do think try to be in the right place at the right time, anticipate it, and find your voice within that. Now I'm gonna go for it.
All right. So I like that you mentioned like good play, like right time, right place, because and before the cameras rolling, we were talking about TikTok and all that stuff. And I used to do TikTok videos last year, and there was this trend on TikTok of like this guy that would record himself eating a chicken leg, and every time he would eat a chicken leg, he'd be like chicken leg piece. And then Roxanne was also like a big song too. It's still a big song, but like it was trending a lot on TikTok at the time. So I made a video collaborating or remixing basically Roxanne and replacing the vocals with the guy that says chicken leg piece, right? And that right place, right time, that was like the kind of the trend that was going on TikTok. And because it was related to what I did with music production, like, I put this stuff together, to over 2 million views on TikTok, went viral, got a lot of followers. So I definitely agree with you with right place, right time kind of thing. And then also I like the fact though that you mentioned consistency, because it's not like you can only rely on luck. Because it's like if you throw one dart at like a dartboard, right? Like, it probably won't hit the bullseye right away. But if you throw like 100 darts at a dartboard, one of them is probably going to hit. So it's like, being consistent with all those videos, having all those uploads, and one of them being the one that might go viral, right? So like,
and when someone comes across your dart, they want to get, you want them, they want to be emotionally attached to something, and they're not going to get emotionally attached to one thing.
Right.
One chicken leg video, which, by the way, might bring in a lot of eyeballs, but at the same time, you want them to know who you are, why you are doing what you're doing, what you believe in, what what's going on here. So that's why sharing the personality, which actually goes back to the advice and stuff. I've been doing covers for however long, but if you go back on all my videos, even back when I sucked at talking to the camera, I talked at the end of my cover, which is weird, or was back in the day, but like there's all of a sudden you heard me sing, whatever, and now you're like, oh, here's personality, here's this kid, like who is he, what's going on? So that kind of stuff as well. Multiple darts and personality darts.
Nice. Yeah.
Now I still want to change topics though.
Yeah, go ahead. You said definitely lay it all out.
I recognize that. I know that feeling that you just said. You said people that aren't ready for a Patreon.
Mm-hmm.
So, and you're probably talking about yourself if you don't have one right now. Do you have a Patreon?
I don't have a Patreon. I haven't really thought about it in the first place. So let me know what it's about, because I really don't know how it works too much. So
okay, so. It used to be 5% because it was all made by creators. I'm not paid to say this. I just truly believe in the platform, and it's made by a musician whose channel is called Pomplamoose, and he's so good. He's so good at music. It's insane. He's now the CEO of Patreon.
Really, that's crazy.
And he did these videos. Like, his story was that he was spending so much time on these covers, and he would like go into debt just building out these huge sets of like a full like Millennium Falcon spaceship and like building robots with guitar pedals. You got to go watch this guitar pedal video. It's amazing. But anyways, he would post these videos and he'd make like $20 in AdSense on YouTube.
Right.
And he had all these fans. So he put it out so that if someone believes in him and his work, they could give $1 or $5 or $10 or whatever for every piece of content that he puts out.
Right.
Fast forward to now, the numbers on Patreon's ridiculous. I know so many graphic designers, artists, painters that struggle to make a living that maybe were making a comic book, but now they can share page by page of people that, to the people that believe in them, $20 a thing of, and they're monetizing the art creation process.
Right.
So what usually as an artist, a musician, you don't make money until you spend all this time in the studio and all this money and you make a music video and you do an album and you print it on CDs or whatever and you've already spent so much money and then you put it out and you hope to make your money back.
Right.
Patreon allows you to invite your fans into the part of the process, still making money while you're doing it at earlier stages in it, and also build a community around it of support. Like I was looking at another record deal a few years ago.
Mm-hmm.
It was 6 albums, it had all the touring information, but they would have owned the rights to all of my music.
Right.
And I was paying a lawyer like $700 an hour to go over this contract. I was so stressed, but I had my Patreon. And I like went in and I like, this is totally illegal in my contract, but like, it's private. It's my Patreon. What's the other record deals lawyers gonna like look at my Patreon and like pay for me?
Yeah.
No. So I like went in, I did a private stream and I was like, all right, here's all the issues of this record deal.
Right.
Private information. Here's like, here's the problems. And they ended up being like, don't sign away your rights. Like, you're making a living. We support you. Like, keep doing what you're doing. And, I was giving you $10 a video before, and now I'm giving you $20 a video. Like, keep going. Like, I believe in you. And I said no to the record deal.
Right.
And probably, hopefully, a great decision. So Patreon at your stage right now, as you're building your fan base, I think is really helpful because you have a private community that you can share stuff with, even if it's 2 people right now, 1 person, 10 people. It doesn't matter. It could, and you just want to get them in at sort of a low price, and then it creates. There's value to what you're doing right now, but YouTube is not showing you that.
Right.
Your AdSense is not the proper value of what you're putting out into the world. And so it sort of creates that understanding. So I don't think there's ever a too early moment for creating one and especially as you grow on this platform and you start to make connections with people. It's a really, really and you want to hire editors, you want to hire people. Like, every time I make a music video, it's like 20 hours and I hired a videographer and like I own so much equipment and like there's just costs.
Exactly.
And
yeah.
So
and like also for me being so young too, it's not, well, one thing I know for me since I'm young, I don't have as many, I guess, like financial responsibilities as someone like you. But then also on the other hand, I don't have as much income as, as like most people do as well. So
you totally could. You have all the tools as me or anyone else, as Addison Rae or whatever. Like, you have all the capabilities to do that. And right now you actually do have an advantage because, yes, you're probably at home or your bills are less or whatever.
Yeah.
But when you step out into the real world of having also rent and whatever, like, you want to create a sustainable career to be able to do what you're doing.
Exactly.
And LA's tough. It's very expensive to live here, and everybody that lives here is motivated. They have the dream, they have the bug. You go to a party, you're like, what do you do? And they're like, oh, I'm a film director. I love what I do. And like, but at the same time, everybody's just fighting for that paycheck or that like, way to do their art. And that's why I think it's so important to have a foundation started early so that you're building that foundation, and then you can go to LA or do whatever it is that you want to do with your artistic endeavors, because you're building that community and you're monetizing it in a way that the value is actually appropriate.
The one question, since you mentioned this Patreon stuff, for someone that is starting off on YouTube, what do you recommend that they put, like, as an artist or YouTuber, like whatever, what kind of content would you put on Patreon, or what would you recommend people put on Patreon? Because it's like a subscription kind of thing, right? Like, people put behind the scenes videos on there and stuff like that, or like how have you used it?
Sure, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of different ways to go about it. You want to be able to just allow Patreon to do what you're already doing. So the easiest thing there is early access to your stuff. So that way it's not a lot of extra work.
Mm-hmm.
But there's ways to be creative about it. My lighting just like adjusted.
I saw that, yeah. I saw that.
I hope my air conditioner is not lighting on fire. So anyways, early access to stuff. You want it to be not too difficult, but there's also something sort of cool about doing a postcard with everyone's name on it. That is sort of cool. It's a pain in the ass to ship it out to everyone, but it'll get more people involved, and then you've captured a moment. Like maybe it's your 100,000 subscriber plaque, and you're like literally printing a postcard with everyone's name that was a part of it. Even a $1 patron, everyone's name is on this postcard of your 100,000 subscribers. Like that is so cool for your fans to be a part of.
Yeah. And that's definitely something I want to do, is to get people more involved. And like my family, like, so I live with my dad and my brother, and they support me 100% with my content. They love what I do, and they're always suggesting like, hey, you should, include your audience more in your videos by like showing a comment, like one of their comments in the beginning of your video, or mentioning, something like this, which I definitely want to start doing. But like you're saying, using Patreon as a way to get people to basically feel more a part of your community, that's what you think is like the most valuable thing for
yeah. I mean, it's super valuable. And I've also, like, we talked about sort of like the personal elements of going through just sort of a small story, but I broke my back. I had a snowboarding accident, and I broke my L2 vertebrae in my back, and that meant I wasn't able to like work music production for other people or mixing or whatever, and I truly only had my Patreon.
Right.
And I also went through a breakup at the same time, and I shared my songwriting with my patrons during that time, and I just did live streams every Friday of a little concert, like every week, and I shared my heartbroken, back-broken, insecure, heartbreak moment of my life.
But it was raw.
And like it was so vulnerable.
Yeah.
But like to be able to have a community that you can share that kind of real, authentic, behind the scenes kind of thing, is amazing. So that's like a whole nother world. Is like let's say you do want to move to LA or whatever, like a big change in your life that is difficult or hard. Like you'll have that community to be a part of you, and you can share the vulnerable elements of it instead of maybe just the perfect stuff that you share on YouTube. But in reality, you can share like, oh, this is difficult.
Yeah, and I like that you mentioned that, because like one thing that I experienced last year when I released my album called Music Therapy, it was a very personal album, which I won't get into too much, but it was basically a journal. Like it was a concept album in the style of a journal of my life and the difficulties I've gone through growing up in my situation. And I was being very vulnerable, and I was actually nervous to release that album. The day that it was, the release date, when it first finally came out, I was like, I had all these nerves because I was excited. I wanted people to hear it, but I was also nervous because it was, like you said, vulnerable, like, and putting yourself out there in that aspect is like, it's nerve-wracking, but it's also like what I found, which was really crazy, is I had a lot of people telling me, hey, like, your album was amazing. It's, really helped me. I've made people cry because of my album, which is like, it's kind of mind blowing to me, but I was just being myself and being like, open, and like how you're saying, being vulnerable with your audience and like sharing your experiences with them. Like,
yeah, and that's what people will relate to,
right,
and
yeah, exactly. So I think
I'm excited for you, man.
Thank you.
It's a crazy. Don't obsess too much over the numbers on it, because like it. Remember, each person matters, and like it's a lofty goal, like 100,000 and however long. Like, don't beat yourself up if you don't get it, but hell, you could be way more than that. But you have to believe that's the goal, but you have to be persistent. And I remember my first 1,000 subscribers took me so long.
Right, me too. Exactly. Yeah, and definitely one thing that I mention in my videos all the time is like this series, Road to 100,000 subscribers. The goal is to get it before 2020. But if that goal doesn't happen, the series won't end at the end of 2020, because the series is called The Road to 100,000 Subscribers, not getting 100,000 by the end of 2020. So like, I completely understand like, where you're coming from. Like, numbers don't matter, because at the end of the day, each person had that choice to subscribe to you, and it's like that person, cares so much about your content that they want to follow along with you, and that's what matters the most. Yep. So I definitely think that's a and also
start to try to plan for creating it into a sustainable business, so that you can move on to the next stage of your career, and you can hire more people or whatever it is that you might need.
Definitely. And that's one thing too. So by the time this video comes out, today's Tuesday, so I have another episode of the series coming out, and by the time that this interview comes out, that episode will already be out. But in that episode, I have a plan to turn a shed in my backyard into a studio space, and that's gonna cost a lot of money. It's gonna cost a lot, like it's gonna be like a lot of time, but like it's one of my goals, and like I feel like it'll help with the videos that I make, like, with my creative flow as well. And one thing that like I know from watching other people like Rhett and Link, Good Mythical Morning on YouTube, they have their studio space, they have a crew. I listen to their podcast all the time, and they like talk about, how they've built up from like the ground up, like their own, like, company. And it's crazy, but it's such a cool concept, and I would love to do that one day. But like you said, you have to start the foundation, and you have to find out a way to build it sustainably,
and find a way to create content out of that. Your studio build. I think that's something that a lot of people will resonate with. My patrons supported me building this, this is a 2-car garage, and I converted it into a studio, and I did it as cost effectively as I could, but it was still not cheap. And my patrons were, I gave them behind the scenes content, and I gave them, all the tours and everything, and they were
excited,
financially supportive of this.
Which
was awesome. Really cool.
Cool. So the next question that I want to get to, so on the series, The Road to 100,000 Subscribers, I document all my successes, but also all my failures, right? And I try to be as transparent as possible with the process, because I think transparency is probably the best thing in terms of like, growing an audience, and helping people out. So I believe that like failure is just as important as growth. So what is one failure that you feel absolutely needs to be avoided by new YouTubers / artists that you might have faced, or that people have faced before?
That's a tough one. I think I'll go with sort of a theme we've talked about a lot, which is the willingness to be flexible, to try new things, to not hold yourself back out of your own insecurities secretly. And that, it's not why people aren't making the decisions they're making, but I know so many people that weren't successful, like maybe were a flash in the pan in 2012, 13, whatever, but weren't able to maintain because they were still trapped in 2013. They're still doing that and hoping that their iTunes sales now will float them like they did back then. It doesn't. So really look at your weaknesses. If you suck at guitar and you now rely on, you can't do a singing video without it, either figure out how to find an instrumental or like be able to do your stuff. So be willing to change, always keep your eyes open, push yourself, I mentioned about talking at the end of my videos. I specifically am thinking of some music creators that just relied on covers or whatever and never shared their personality, and they didn't push themselves. So there you go. Like, you need to push yourself to get better, to always put your best work out there and always get better than in the next video, but not be scared to try new things. And that sort of brings up TikTok, which is like, I for so many months was like, it's for kids. Right. I'm not gonna do TikTok. Right. Yeah. And then I posted a bunch of my old clips, and like those did okay. And I had some clips that started to like generate some traffic. It was cool. It was like my old YouTube videos that had like stopped getting views. All of a sudden, we're getting video views on TikTok. And I was like, all right, that's cool. And then I started singing stuff live, and now it's sort of like blowing up in a way. And I was holding myself back from trying it, and even the style of music that I'm like doing on TikTok right now, I like did a sort of emo alternative like screamo kind of song, which is not like my main genre. And if you look at my YouTube channel, I'm like mostly doing like acoustic, pretty stuff now. Right. But like, so I sang some Kellen Quinn, and now everybody's like, holy shit, this guy can sing, and that's so cool. So now I've just been sort of feeding them with more high screaming, because I can do it. And that's not my average cover. I could go cover an Ed Sheeran song or something, but like, screw it. I have this new group of potential new music listeners that are finding me through a certain style, so I'm gonna dive into it just a little bit. So be open.
So like you said, you started off on TikTok posting your old videos, but now I'm assuming you've shifted over to actually making content specifically for TikTok as well.
Yeah, like my TikTok intro is sort of funny, where like I edited a bunch of my old YouTube videos into little TikTok videos, and like I posted like 3, and I started to get a little bit of traffic or whatever, and then I posted my wrecking ball video, the one where I got naked. and then it started to get a little bit of traffic, and then I posted like a Zayn from One Direction cover, right? And then the wrecking ball video got flagged, and I got deactivated from TikTok for a week. I couldn't post for a week. So during that week, the video I posted right after Wrecking Ball, the Zayn cover, blew up. And I was getting a lot of followers. I was getting like, it wasn't a lot, but like 10,000, 8,000 followers or something from a video. And I couldn't comment. I couldn't make a new TikTok. I couldn't do anything because I was deactivated. But it was like, holy shit, like there is some potential here to be able to sing in a different way or whatever, or share my old videos. And then I started posting more TikToks, and then I started to see other singers. This goes back to my seeing what Alex Goot and Tyler Ward and Kurt Schneider were doing on YouTube when I saw them in college and was like, I can do that. Right. I saw a singer that was blowing up on TikTok that was a really good singer, great high voice, and only like a few people can sing like that. And my voice is like the same kind of range. And so I was like, oh, I can do that. Right. And I was like, and I was watching his videos, and I was like, I know how he's shooting that. I can tell that he's recording it in a certain way. Right. So I was like, all right, there we go. That's what I'm gonna do. And I like started to do a few of them, and now I'm growing very quickly, and those people are finding my YouTube channel, and they're finding my Spotify, and they're filling out my form request to sign up for my mailing list next time I go on tour. Awesome. All from TikTok. So now TikTok is helping my YouTube. So
it's like feeding each other. Yeah, I see. So basically, the new kind of content that you're posting on TikTok, like you said, you saw someone else doing something, you're like, I know how to do that. I could do it in my own way, and make it my own kind of like content. But it's like, you're not necessarily reinventing the wheel. You're taking what's already there and like adding your own flair to it, basically.
And let me tell you, so I'm just trying to try to get you into my headspace of like creative. How do you see an opportunity and like get it, right? Yeah. So here's what I'm currently doing, and I just sort of want to, that way you can sort of understand.
Yeah, give me all your details. I want to know it all.
It's like the guy that's singing that I saw. I was like, all right, I can duplicate that, and I can do it in my own style. Right. Cool. All right. Yeah. And then I was like, but how is he's not making any income from it. There's no money. He's getting views and followers, and that can turn into something, but it's not a quick transaction or whatever.
Right.
So I have my little Patreon community, and I went to them and I was like, here's my plan. I have an original song that's coming out in like a month, and I'm going to go on TikTok and I'm going to post, I'm going to put all my effort in TikTok, and now you guys are going to help support that. I'm going to put all my effort to TikTok, because usually you guys just supported a YouTube video. Now I want you to support the TikToks, because I'm going to use that to build a fan base so that I can get this new original song to go out. And I created a new tier on my on my Patreon that is cover song requests on TikTok. And I haven't done it yet. I'm still promoting it, but I have like 8 right now, right? And it's literally, I'm going to be like, Olivia's video will be on screen, and she'll be like right here on screen, and be like, hey, David will be like, what's up? And she'll be like, hey, cover this Sleeping with Sirens song. I'll be like, all right, cool. And so now, and then I'll just go right into it right in that video. So it'll be like a collab in a TikTok. But the only way that other people can do that is to join the Patreon, join the community. I'll Skype with you. We'll like talk about what song to do, whatever. And then I'll post that video and I'll tag you in it, and you'll be in my video forever. And who knows, maybe it'll do well on TikTok and you'll be tagged in it. And it's like a little collaboration between me and my patron.
That's smart.
So now that's advertising to anyone else that comes across that cover of like, hey, I have a song that I want you to do, and I'd love to be in a video with you tagged. So like that's a whole I don't think anyone's done that.
I have not seen anybody on TikTok do that either. So that's very smart. And so how do you plan on getting like those first couple people from TikTok then to go to your Patreon? Are you going to mention it in a video that you know on your okay. I see. I
put a link in my bio, and I've been saying like, actually, you know, I see your requests in the comments, but that doesn't work. Go actually click the link in my bio, and then it takes you to my Patreon, and it takes you to an unlisted video of me sitting down and explaining what I'm doing. And if they join, you know, they're supporting my music, my message, the hope, the healing that I've sort of shared in my music. They're helping support that. At the same time, they get a cool cover on TikTok, and they're a part of this community of 100 people or whatever. And you know, right now it's not successful. I have a few new patrons,
right?
And I have some submissions from my current patrons that are like, oh, sweet, I'm excited. But my goal, just like you having your lofty goal, my goal is to be able to create income and sustainable from TikTok, to be able to do these requests and have a career that also has TikTok, that also has YouTube, that also has merch, that also has touring, and that also, you know, awesome. You want to sort of be cross, you want to have a diverse portfolio of potential income.
Right.
Because if I wanted to rely on my Spotify income, I'd be screwed.
Yeah.
Know?
So multiple income streams is basically like your goal.
Yeah.
Awesome. So that's about all the questions I have for you today. Maybe in the future we'll do something else, but right now this is where we're at. And before we end off, I just want to ask you, is there anything that you want to mention to whoever's watching this video? Maybe you have something coming up, or like maybe some extra advice that you didn't get to mention earlier that you might want to say.
Sure. I mean, I've certainly talked enough about myself at this point, but I think my message to creators or anyone is to, like, as cheesy as it is, like, go after whatever it is, like, makes you tick, and don't, it sounds stupid, but like, don't be scared about it, but like, you can reach out to me at any point in time, and I just like talking with Adriel.
Adriel, yeah.
Adriel, I didn't know Adriel, whatever. Just like talking with Adriel, like, I'm happy to talk with people and share my story and see, like, now Adriel and I'm a fan of you. I'm going to subscribe to you right now. I can do it right now.
Thank you.
I'm subscribing, and I'm so excited to see what you do. And there's other people out there that are fighting for. It's got that notification bell on.
Awesome,
other people out there that are fighting for the same idea of their dream. So it takes time, and you got to pursue it. And it's exciting to me that you, Adriel, are putting it out there in words and saying, I'm going to get 100,000 subscribers.
Thank you.
And you can't just pray for it.
Right.
But you have to be consistent and be smart about it and fight for it, and you'll blow past 100,000. It might take you a while,
right?
But you'll blow past it, and have a successful career from it.
Right.
So I'm excited to see what you do.
Thank you. And something I want to just add to what you said, like everybody has their moment to shine. Like some people might feel they have to get it. Like how I'm saying the goal is by the end of 2020. And like some people might make goals and be like, that has to happen right now. But like you were saying, like, you have to be patient because you're going to have your time to shine, basically.
Totally.
Right. So thank you so much, David.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, no problem. I really appreciate you coming on and like, sharing your wisdom. So like it honestly means a lot to me. And I'm really excited to see where your stuff goes on TikTok. I followed you on Instagram. Definitely will follow you on TikTok as well. And for anybody watching, all of his links will be in the description as well as mine. But thank you so much, David. I really appreciate all the support that you've given and all the help that you've provided. My little brother's knocking on my door, so I'm going to answer him. But thank you so much. And for all of you watching, don't be afraid to show your genius.
Baby, you call me, you tell me you're lonely. You know that I get you, but I've been so cooped up in my room, quarantine, gazing at the moon, asking the stars if I'll see you soon.